talk about how oxalate affects eyes. I certainly can. This was one of my bears. Oxalate becomes marooned in the vitreous gel of the eye. That's what the research appears to indicate. And so it can be impacting the eyes with oxidative stress directly. It's not kind of indirectly from the body as a whole. It's like happening inside the eyes. In my own case, I had things where I had like crystals around the edges of my eye and my eyes would feel irritated. And I thought, well, that's not so bad. I can deal with that. And that was happening during the sort of height of oxalate dumping when I was fairly newly on the diet. But then one day I felt like there was something in there. I had a lot of pain in the one eye, and I always seemed like my left eye was worse than my right. I don't know why. And I decided to go to Emerge because it was later in the day and the eye was so sore. And I was concerned that maybe I'd had an eyelash drop in there and I hadn't realized it and it wasn't coming out or whatever. So I get to ER, they get me into a doctor. The guy does the fun with dilating eye drops, blah, 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 cranks the eye open, puts the big lens on it, and then checks the other eye as a comparison, goes back to this eye, checks again, goes back, and then says to me, "You've got a cut on your cornea." And he said, "I can't find anything in your eye, but you've got a cut on your cornea. And it's probably going to take 2 or 3 days before that feels better. And, here's some soothing eye drops, blah, blah, blah." I am pretty convinced, although I do not have evidence that I can present to you, but pretty convinced that my eye shed an oxalate crystal. It got rolled around in there enough to give me a cut. And then some of the debris that I had wiped away from my eyes that day had actually included that crystal. So we do know that the eyes can be getting rid of oxalate. You're secreting it out through the tears. Your eyes are creating tears all the time as lubrication. And so you can absolutely have things going on there. Once I'd had that experience, I decided to try MSM eye drops and NAC, but in this case, N-acetyl carnosine eye drops. And I had been noticing that my eyes were more blurry. And I do think that might be related to oxidative stress and some of the things that the oxalate's doing in there. But long story short on that one, as I used those drops, my eye, like my vision, that blurriness started to clear up. And some of the circles I had around lights at night started to improve. And I thought, oh, that's very interesting. So I still use those eye drops, although I'll use them for a while, then I sort of forget them. And then I have to get started again. And then I sort of forget them because I'm not having the constant symptoms anymore. And so I'm not paying as much attention. But those eye drops were really helpful. I will also say that, and I suspect in part because of the kinds of irritation and maybe inflammation that oxalate can set up in the eyes, I had 2 vitreous gel detachments. And that was a heck of an experience because in both eyes, it caused small eye bleeds where the retina is attached at the back, where the optic nerve actually moves through. There was like a pull and a little bit of a bleed. So I think we need to treat what's happening to eyes a bit more seriously than we probably do, certainly more serious than I did, because I was like, oh, it's clearing up, it's all good. And MSM eye drops and NAC eye drops do have some research on them in terms of reducing incidence of cataract, which is a good sign because that means it's taking down inflammation because cataracts are driven by inflammation. And I'm hoping there will be more research done on these things because I think they are very good supports. So in my own case, while I still have a little bit of floaters of a more substantial nature because of the eye bleeds, over time, they've actually started to improve a bit. So the more I use these MSM and NAC eye drops, the better I'm feeling about what they're able to do for the eyes. So I hope that helps a little bit. This is an area, though, where honestly, folks, unless you've got genetic hyperoxaluria, people are probably going to look at you like you're insane if you say you're dealing with oxalate issues with your eyes. So feel free to ask questions on the group. I will share anything I've come across, but this is an issue near and dear to my heart because I have multiple multiple family members who ended up with macular degeneration, and that road I am not going. So I'll be continuing with my MSM and NAC eye drops. I do take lutein and the kinds of antioxidants that are recommended for eyes. And I would say it's probably good habit to be in just to ensure that you're keeping them as healthy as possible. I don't know what I would do without my vision. That just seems very near and dear to me.